pros should never test games and definitely should never play new games and a patch before they are released. That is just insane to me. I agree with this. The thing about 2XKO and actually a bunch of other fighting games is people have a lot more unfair advantages than you think. And these unfair advantages really happen like before the game comes out or the first like month or two. They kind of mitigate over time. Instead of just talking about the unfair advantage that people perceive that I have, and I do think I have unfair advantages, and I don't think it's related to what this tweet's talking about, which is I flew to Riot. It took me a day. It takes me 10 hours, hour to the airport, an hour waiting at the airport, 6 hours flying, hour from the airport to my hotel, and then my hotel to Riot headquarters. Both ways, right? That's lost practice time to play a new character for 3 hours. And that new character is gonna lose to Echo Yasuo like at least 7-3. That's not the advantage I think I have. I think I have other advantages. I think other people have way more advantage than me, which is why I want to talk about this, right? I feel like I'm kind of stuck in the middle. While I do have some advantages getting invited to influencer events and being able to get access to closed betas and that sort of thing, I've also lost tournaments to people that have more advantage than me. For example, I lost to Sonic Fox in the first beta tournament, who had way more time with the game than me. You guys have probably heard Ban the Testers. I lost to the only EVO I went to in the 2010s, I lost to a tester. It happens and it fucking sucks. And I want to talk about that and maybe what we can do in the future. I'm going to talk about this in the only way I know possible to communicate to FGC heads, a tier list. Yes. So let's kind of go through the tier list of early access advantages. So I think in SSS tier, this is exclusive gameplay builds for use at home. So for example, some people, and even in 2XKO, they had a net play test where people got to lab out and test the net play for days on end. I was not invited to this net play test. This is in between the Alpha Labs, or I think before Alpha Lab 1. Sajam and other people that I don't want to mention names got access to this build and were much better as a result because they had many more hours than the game. And being able to play in the comfort of your own home and being able to lab stuff whenever you want is a much bigger advantage to some of these influencer events than you might think. The other thing that I think is SSS tier, but I don't think this is as controversial and doesn't happen as much, is early access in Japan. Many Japanese games typically got released like a year before it would be released in America. And of course, Japan would just totally dominate those games because they literally had early access, right? So like Street Fighter 4 was a big example. It got released in arcades. I think it came to America like a year or two later, and it took America a lot of time to catch up. It very significantly, just because the whole culture over there essentially had a year more worth of practice than America, right? Another example is this exclusive gameplay build for use at home. Again, these are all rumors, so I'm just communicating rumors, but certain people had access to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite before the game came out and were able to play it and lab it and, you know, do testing at home, right? I think this is also like again, SSS tier and SS tier kind of bleeds together because there's like game testers that are getting paid to test the game, and it's like, you know, how much access do you really have, right? If it's only a few days, it's not as big as like literally having a console version at your home, right? I think the other thing that's SS tier, and this one fucking, I hate it with a passion. In fact, I would rather just games never do betas on PCs unless they have a way to mitigate game cracks, is people, they release a demo on the PC and people, the demo period might be like 3 days online. And then after that alpha or the beta or the demo, then people crack that beta and therefore you can play as long as you want, right? This has happened to many games. This happened to Street Fighter 6, this happened to Tekken 8, this happened to, again, some of the most recent games released. I'm not opposed to like squeezing out every competitive advantage that I can, right? As someone that streams, I cannot stream if there's a game crack, so I just don't bother with it, right? Like I can't just like go online and be like, all right, time to boot up Street Fighter 6 crack and then start playing as a stream, right? The vast majority of time I play fighting games is while I stream. So it makes, I literally am disadvantaged when it comes to a game crack, but many people don't give a shit. For example, and again, this is another way this impacted me. the first Street Fighter 6 beta tournament, I won. I won the first Street Fighter 6 beta tournament. Kimberly, I did well. I mostly cooked everyone. But after the first beta, the beta got cracked. I didn't play the beta crack in between the first beta and the second beta. And after the second beta happened, everyone was magically better than me. I couldn't believe it. I was like, what's going on? Like why is everyone just instantly better despite all of us having the same amount of time to play? I think game cracks or anything where you have essentially unfettered access to a game and you can like lab out things and test things at your own pace is really, really broken, right? The only reason I don't think game cracks is an SSS tier is because technically everyone can crack a beta and play it, right? So at least it's a little bit more shared, right? All right, S tier. Oh yeah, and I think the thing that annoys me most about game cracks is there are people that have been known to play game cracks and were not banned for it, right? And this is actually pretty widespread that people got caught with cracks on their PC or were known to play the cracks on the PC and were never banned. So it is what it is. I just hope the games never get cracked in the first place, right? Anyways, S tier, alpha play, net play events. I think this is my biggest advantage. People are saying, oh yeah, you flew to play a new character for 3 hours that you're probably not even gonna play a tournament. That's a huge advantage. The big advantage I got here was actually being able to play in the alpha net play events, right? The issue is a lot of these alpha labs are exclusive, right? As someone that streams, the companies are incentivized to give me access because I could stream their game and therefore it looks more popular than if I wasn't streaming the game. So naturally, you know, players like me can get access easier than people that don't stream. It's essentially free marketing. I'm gonna be honest, I realized this. And this is one of the main reasons I started streaming, because I would watch people stream the game that I couldn't play. I got fucking salty as shit. I've been there for years and years. I've been in the MKX trenches I literally made 30 separate emails to get into an MKX beta and none of them worked. I made 30 emails to get into MKX beta and none of them worked. I was so fucking pissed. I went 0 for 30, bro. I've been there. The advantage that people get playing at the comfort of their own home for like days or weeks at a time is massive, because you not only are creating the mental models that allow you to figure out what you want to do when the game drops, you also you can just practice with the freedom of your own home, and other people have access, so you have people to bounce ideas off of and test things, right? In my opinion, this is the biggest advantage I've had in almost any game that I've played that has an alpha net play event. And I'll talk about solutions further, but this is clearly above like most other things like influencer events. A tier, influencer events, right? So I went to a influencer event. Just to preface this, I think I had maybe 15 hours worth of influencer event experience before 2xKO came out, right? If I had maybe 60 or 80 hours of alpha net play event experience, I had maybe 15 to 20 hours of like influencer event experience, right? These are not as impactful as you might think, because a lot of times at these influencer events, you do other things, right? Like for example, they might show off features, they might want to get feedback, they might want to, just do interviews and that sort of thing. There's a lot of things that happen that aren't just you sweating and doing gameplay, right? That being said, it's still an unfair advantage, because at an influencer event, you do get access before other people get access, right? It's just the amount of depth and intensity is not quite there compared to an alpha net play event, right? The other one is an early game demo. This is everyone typically has access, but for example, Hunter x Hunter Nen Impact, this legitimately pissed me off. I think Nen Impact, people literally played the demo for hundreds of hours before the game actually came out. And then when the game actually came out, you essentially had to deal with people that have been playing the game a couple hundred hours, right? And some people don't even know there's a demo, because they don't advertise these things very well. And then now you're dealing with people with way more access and that sort of thing, right? Maybe that's a B tier because technically everyone has access to it. I'm not sure. All right, so in B tier, we have show floor demos where the game is just literally not out, but you can like go try the game. But unfortunately, show floor demos, you can only play it for like 15 minutes or something, right? So it's not actually that beneficial, and everyone technically has access to it. And you know, if you're maybe like someone like me, I got, for example, Marvel Tokon, instead of having to wait in the line to play the game for a half hour or 15 minutes or however long the demos were, I got to cut the line and play the game for 15 minutes or 30 minutes. I guess that's an advantage, but it's not really that much, right? Like, again, I wasn't playing Marvel Tokon hours and hours before everyone else, right? I got very limited access to that. And generally most slow floor games, I think 2xKO, I probably got the most time to play, but it wasn't that much either. I think this can vary. This could technically be like an A tier. Early access to patch notes before a event occurs is actually A tier. So this is where the main controversy with this Punk tweet is, in my opinion, right? People think the main advantage is being able to play Caitlyn for 3 hours or being able to try the new patch for 3 hours. I don't think that's an advantage. I'm gonna be real, right? Because when I travel to that event, I lost 3 days of training time, right? 1 day to travel there, 1 day to travel back. You could argue like a half a day. When we were at Riot, we're just like networking and shit. We're not actually playing the game, except for those like couple hours. And then the Sunday after, I was like kind of sick, so because of travel, so I didn't practice that. That wasn't good. The main advantage I had, and other people had this advantage, by the way, this is what annoys me, is that the patch notes before other people. The fact that I knew what was going to change in the game was the main advantage, right? It's information on how the game has changed is the most important thing. People think that the main people that had an advantage are myself, K7, Supernoon, and Leffen, the people that actually went to the playtest. The people that actually benefited the most are the people that learned about the patch notes that day, because again, top players can't shut their fucking mouths, and didn't have to waste 3 days traveling to the event. The main people that actually got, I got advantage, right? Don't get me wrong. I think it's a net negative, but I like, just to appease everyone, I'm gonna say I got a slight positive advantage. The people that actually got the advantage were the people that knew about the patch notes either that day because someone at that event told another player the patch notes, because again, even though people are under the NDA, they don't shut the fuck up, right? Things leak. It's the people, some people apparently knew about the patch notes before the game before I even knew at the event, which is kind of crazy. This isn't just a 2xKO thing, by the way. Other games have leaked patch notes, they've leaked release dates, they've leaked other stuff, and I think that's the big advantage. That being said, I think this game, any game is gonna have leaks, right? So for example, just think of it this way, if things like DLC characters, lineups get announced and they get leaked before the announcement, you don't think patch changes get leaked? This has happened for other games. For some reason, I'm always out of the Illuminati. I wish I knew like people that would leak me patch notes, but I always hear like a whisper from someone else that they knew, right? Which is kind of cringe. Anyways, that being said, for this event specifically, the patch notes were basically a nothing burger. Because one, I only got 1 extra day of advantage, essentially, if you count the day I traveled and the day I didn't practice. So that Monday, the only thing I really knew was that, all right, Timo got shot. That's essentially the only change, and everything else is staying the same. Crazy, because I just got a whisper of a whisper about COTW. That's what I'm saying. We have a City of the Wolves patch coming on the 22nd. I guarantee some people already know who's going to be strong and who's not. I don't. It fucking sucks for me because I'm going to a Frosties event in 2 weeks, but it happens. The 2xKO, this instance of patch notes being released early, kind of mitigated by the fact that they released them publicly, right? We found out Friday, that Tuesday, they were released publicly, and now I know nothing that you guys know, right? I think it should have been the day of. I do not like having unfair advantages, right? Because I think this is such a minor unfair advantage given the circumstances, because nothing changed about the patch, that it's more of a perception problem, where the actual issues are stuff like this. The actual issues are stuff like this. So let's talk about what to do in the future, because I don't like this, right? I don't like when things feel unfair, and I think they do feel unfair, and I don't want any part of that, right? So I was actually asked by Riot, hey, we don't like this. What should we do different? Here's what I told them. I think you should just show the new characters at events, so it's more broad access, right? So this is what every other game does. If you go to Evo, you're gonna find a booth with, you know, Sagat or whoever the new Street Fighter character is. You're gonna find a booth with a new Fatal Fury character. Just do it so everyone has access. Therefore it's more fair. And I think everyone should learn the abridged patch notes at the same time. So like, if you're gonna bring me in Friday and tell me here's the patch notes, everyone should know. In fact, don't even fucking discuss the patch notes if you don't want to do that, right? The other thing that you could do what other companies do, right? You could just temporarily ban me from competition. So again, I don't think this gives me an advantage, but like other people do, right? So it's the perception of unfairness. Temporarily ban me from competition. So I can make a decision. Do I want to do content or do I want to do compete, right? If I want to do content, I go to the event, I get banned from whatever next event that's coming up or whatever comes within the month, and then after that I'm allowed to play again. That way you don't have to worry about this public perception problem, and if you truly do give people unfair advantage. So for example, let's say I go to an event and Caitlyn's fucking busted as shit, right? Caitlyn's the most broke character ever, and I find something broke with Caitlyn, it doesn't matter because I'm temporarily banned. And then therefore you have time to fix it and that sort of thing, right? Because this 2xko thing could have been way worse than it actually was, right? Like imagine they don't release the patch notes for 2xko until like the 20th and things drastically changed. Like let's say Braum got 1 million buffs and everyone else got nerfed, and I could practice Braum for 2 weeks without anyone knowing. You have to do something to even the playing field, right? You could also just do the preview events, like align your schedule so that like you release the character after Frosty's. Therefore you don't have to deal with it, right? Yeah, I do think it's blown out a little bit out of proportion, but I do get that it feels unfair because I've been in that situation where it felt unfair to me and it fucking sucks. So like, I don't blame people blowing out of proportion. That being said, I don't think it's like this specific instance isn't that bad. I think Riot has done worse things in the past that were more unfair. And that being said, I think let's put it this way. I don't think I'm winning Frosty Frosties because I'm more focused on City of the Wolves, given no matter what advantage I got. Like, let's keep it real, bro. The people that are actually gonna win are the people that are grinding this shit every day for hours and hours every day, right? That's not me currently. I'm more focused on content and I'm more focused on doing well in City of the Wolves because there's a lot more on the line with the big prize pools, right? That being said, I'm still gonna try 2xQ. I think I'll still do pretty well. And maybe if all the stars align, I can win. But yeah, this isn't gonna make a difference. Yeah, I would agree. I think it's the principle of it, right? Like, even if it really does not materially affect much, it's the fact that like, hey, this guy has an unfair advantage, and it feels wrong. It's a bad taste issue, right? And so I personally would rather, even as a competitor, right? Like, this feels shit. Let's say I do well. Let's say I win the tournament. You know how much shit I'm gonna get for that? It's like I'm incentivized to lose this tournament. That feels shitty as a competitor, right? Like, it's literally a lose-lose for me. I don't want to be in this situation, bro. At least stuff like having access to alpha net play events is kind of generally accepted. So like, I don't get shit for it because like, technically any of you guys watching can also get into those alpha net play events. I don't want to be in this situation. I don't want to know I'm going to get shit. Like, let's say I win Frosties, everyone's going to call me a fucking cheater, even though I think I personally gained net negative, and if this or event were to happen again, I probably would not go because I didn't really get that much out of it. All I got were 2 highlight videos. I got 2 highlight videos I could have made anyways. I could have reacted to Caitlyn. I just wouldn't put the I played her in the thumbnail. I could still put hop on 2xQ picture in the back. I could still do that. I can still review the season 1 patch notes. I can do all of that without going to Riot. I think maybe this video would have done like 15K instead of 21K. The fact that I played her did give it a buff, but that buff is not worth traveling 2 days for, right? You tell me I traveled 2 days for 6K views? They told us we couldn't say anything, but then they revealed anything anyway. So it's basically, I can basically say everything. The only thing I can't show you guys is footage. The embargo for the footage, I technically have footage, but the embargo for the footage is the same exact time as the game releases. So there's no point. Why would you want to see old footage when I could just stream the game? But like, at least other companies, like if I get to play it early, like I get to show it off a couple days before the game actually comes out. So like, therefore people will watch. No one's gonna want to watch footage that's essentially old at this point when I could just stream it. Questions? I guess the other suspicious thing is that top players ask for feedback. The game could be patched with their interests in mind. I don't know why again, there's a lot of misinformation on Twitter. I was not asked for feedback on Caitlyn. It did not matter what I say. I could have said Caitlyn is broken as shit. The devs would have been like, lol, and they would not give a shit. I was not asked for feedback, bro. The whole point of these events is so that influencers make videos about them, and therefore your game proliferates into the FGC sphere more, right? That's the only reason that these events happen. There's no play testing. I'm not gonna be able to find something. You're telling me I can't find anything broke with Caitlyn in 2 hours when you literally have pros like Apology Man that play this game 8 hours a day. What feedback am I gonna be able to give? It's not even me. If you invite Sonic Fox, you invite Supernoon, you invite Leffen, there's no feedback they can give that's going to be impactful after playing the character for 2 hours. After 2 hours, I was still trying to do expert combo trial number 2. I couldn't even do her combos, bro. What feedback am I going to give? It's the whole point of these events is so people make shit like this. That's it. We are essentially unpaid advertising. we are essentially unpaid advertising. It's nothing deeper than that. Like, I did not go for the money. I went because it's cool to see FGC homies and like talk to them and network and shit. That's the main reason I go. I don't go for like this kind of shit. I mean, yeah, it's cool to see Caitlyn too. Don't get me wrong. I guess I got a trip to Cali, but bro, I didn't see anything in Cali. All I got to see was the inside of a hotel room, inside of a restaurant, the inside of Riot HQ quarters. I mean, maybe I could have made a trip out of it. I could have stayed a couple extra days, but like I had no reason to want to go to Cali. IMO, I think the event gave like a 2% advantage of Frosty. Will that 2-3% actually make a difference? No, but yeah, I think. In fact, I think it gave me negative advantage because I'm rusty as fuck at this game, and I could have used those 3 days de-rusting. And in fact, if someone DM'd me the patch notes that day of the event, and so someone was like, "Here's what," or basically, if someone just told me on that Friday that nothing is changing about the game except Teemo's a bit worse. And Teemo's still probably viable, right? I would have literally had every single advantage of going without any of the negatives of wasting time. All right, let's get into a little of the deep weeds of this, right? This happens for other games, right? Like Valorant. If you are Riot, you're kind of incentivized to not make things public and keep things for the people that are going to your event, right? Because you want to incentivize the value of going to your event. If you don't have value in your event, then no one's gonna come, right? That being said, I think they should be public. I think they should have been public that day. Like I don't like having an unfair advantage. Okay, this is rambling on. I'm just rambling. All right, the TLDR. I think I've had unfair advantages in fighting games before. I think half of you have had unfair advantages in fighting games before. I think being able to play the alpha events was probably my biggest advantage. Influencer events before the game came out were also quite an advantage. I don't think this event, due to the limited playtime and the fact that everything is public a few days after, really gave me an advantage. In fact, I think it gave me negative advantage, but I understand that there is a public perception with that and it feels unfair, and therefore I think there should be more controls in place in the future. Specifically, they should either ban other players from competition temporarily, or they make the early access more broadly available. Anyone could do by attending an event. All right, I said my piece. Like, share, subscribe. Take care, y'all, and peace. This video DLC. Am I deluded with the fact that console players haven't been able to play more than advantage? Yeah, of course it's way more than advantage. I don't think. But the thing is, everyone going to Frosties has already played this game. Well, fuck it. All right, fuck it. You know what? We're gonna put this in A tier. Winning the patch lottery. That's really what it comes down to. I think games should just not patch a week before a major. Patch a week after a major. The issue with patching a week before the major is, yes, it makes things nice and exciting. The issue with it is that there's a literal patch lottery. For example, if I played Teemo in the past patch, which I do, by the way, Teemo is one of my best characters, so I am a little salty about this. If I play Teemo and he's the only character that gets nuked and everyone else is the same, I'm at a disadvantage. For Fatal Fury, if my characters get Giga buff, let's say Fatal Fury, for whatever reason, they decide only to buff Ronaldo and Chun-Li, and they nerf everyone else, I'm in prime position to win Frosty Frostings. That's not competitiveness. That's just getting fucking lucky. I don't like this. My advantage was playing the right characters, I guess. But we have no. It's just random luck. All right, DLC over. Peace.